I've always hated the smell of stale sugar glaze and burnt coffee. But it sticks to my hair and my coat the second I step through the back door. The graveyard shift at this rundown Dunkin Donuts off the highway wasn't my dream job when I dropped out of college, but it's the only thing keeping my phone line alive and the debt collectors quiet. There's nothing out here but empty road, old pine trees that look like they're waiting to lean in, and this box of neon lights humming in the dark like it's got a secret. I flick the switch behind the register. Overhead bulbs buzz to life one by one, throwing too much light on the smudged glass cases and the sticky counters. Everything's got a thin film of grease that no mop or rag can touch for long. I hang my jacket on the same bent hook by the office door, tap my name tag twice for luck, then clock in. They used to schedule 2 people for the overnight shift. Back when this place sold more than stale muffins and half-warm coffee to truckers desperate enough to pull over. My manager, Tom, liked to brag that he'd never close, no matter how dead the hours got. He'd stay late, slurping burnt coffee with too much creamer, waiting for the sun. That was before the night he stepped outside for a smoke and never came back. The district guy calls sometimes, voice all fake concern, telling me Tom will show up eventually. They don't send help, though. They just say keep the doors open. And so I do. Sometimes I think about calling it quits too. Just locking up, driving away, pretending the highway will swallow me up before it notices. But I know what waits past the glass door when you don't follow the rules. I saw it the first week. That shape pressed against the window, fogging up the glass, while I stood frozen behind the counter with my apron half tied and my teeth chattering so hard I tasted blood. That was the night I found the list. It's an old sheet of paper, yellowed at the edges, taped to the inside of the supply closet door behind a sagging box of napkins nobody ever refills. 7 rules for 7 customers. Each one written in the same tight handwriting, the ink smeared in places like someone pressed their thumb over the words when they got scared. I pull the closet open tonight just to check. It's still there, the rules curling away from the tape. I run my finger over the last line. If you follow them, you'll see the sun. Simple as that. I shut the door fast. Sometimes I wonder who wrote them first. Maybe Tom. Maybe the guy before him. Maybe someone who thought they could beat the rules if they were careful enough. That's the lie you tell yourself at midnight when the neon sign hums like a fly caught in a jar and you haven't heard a car in hours. I clean the coffee carafe again, though it's never really clean. I wipe down the counter, even though it'll be sticky in 5 minutes. I count the donuts left from the day shift and tell myself I'll make it to sunrise. Outside the glass door, the parking lot yawns empty under flickering lamps that barely keep the dark at bay. I see my own reflection looking back. Tired eyes, hair tied up too tight, name tag crooked on my chest. I whisper the first rule under my breath, the one for the silent businessman. He always comes first. He always drags that black trail behind him like he's scraping the night in with him. I check the clock. Midnight ticks over. I hold my breath. The chime above the door rattles once, soft, almost polite. I remind myself I know the rules. I'll follow them all. I'll see the sun, for now. The first chime always makes my teeth hurt. It's not loud, just that tinny jingle above the door. But at this hour, when the only other sounds are the freezer's groan and the slow drip of stale coffee, it slices through my head like cold water down my spine. I know who it is before I turn around. I can smell him. Gasoline mixed with something sweeter, rotten peaches maybe, or the syrup they use to glaze old donuts when they want to hide the taste of yesterday's oil. He stands there in the doorway, perfectly framed under the flickering fluorescent light that's been threatening to die since I started working here. His suit looks too pressed, like it was ironed right onto him. Pale gray fabric that doesn't belong on a highway donut shop floor. Shoulder seams so sharp they almost gleam. His hair's slicked back so tight I can see the skin stretch across his scalp. The briefcase in his hand drips thick and black onto the cheap tiles, each drop hitting the floor with a soft smack that makes my stomach twist. I've read his rule at least 100 times. I could recite it backwards if I had to. When he enters, do not greet him first. Do not speak until he nods. Simple enough on paper. A nightmare when he's standing right there, oil-black eyes locked on mine like he's waiting for me to twitch. My tongue presses so hard against my teeth, I taste blood and the last sip of bitter coffee. I want to say hello because my brain wants to fill the silence. That's the trap. I know it is. Tom told me once, half drunk on stale espresso, don't be polite to the wrong people. Then he laughed and looked at the window like he was waiting for something to tap back. The silent businessman doesn't blink. He stands there while the briefcase keeps dripping. The black trail creeps across the tiles in thin veins, reaching for the gap under the counter. I shift my foot back so it doesn't touch my shoe. I don't know what happens if it does. I don't want to find out. He tilts his head, stiff, mechanical, and I hear something pop in his neck. That's the sign. That's the nod. My throat feels like sandpaper when I whisper it. Good evening, sir. It comes out too soft, but it's enough. He jerks his chin down once more, like he's satisfied. The briefcase gives a final wet splat on the floor, then he turns. I stay frozen while he walks back out the door, dragging that black trail behind him like he's leaking the dark inside him all over my world. When the door shuts, the bell rattles twice. The smell hits me harder now that he's gone. That burning fuel stink mixed with sugar rotting under a summer sun. I cover my nose with the back of my wrist and count to 10. The rules don't say I have to clean the trail right away. They don't say if I ever should. So I don't. I stand behind the counter and stare at the black stain stretching toward the front door. It's thin and shiny, like oil slick on a puddle after rain. A bubble pops near my foot, and I swear it hisses at me. The supply closet door in the back creaks open on its own, just a crack, like it wants to remind me the list is still there. Like it's daring me to read it again. I swallow the lump in my throat and shut my eyes instead. The silent businessman is gone for tonight. That's all that matters. 1 down, 6 to go. I wipe my hands on my apron even though I haven't touched anything. Then I check the clock. Just past 12:30. My whole body wants to sag onto the floor, but I can already hear the faintest sobbing, somewhere outside under the busted parking lot light. I brace myself for the next rule. If I get them all right, I'll see the sun. The silent businessman's black trail is still oozing toward the mop bucket I keep by the bathroom door when I hear it. A soft hiccup at first, then a thin, wet sob that curls under the front door and snakes right into my chest. I hate this one the most. The crying always sounds too real, too close to the part of me that still remembers scraped knees and cold sidewalks and being small enough to believe someone would come looking if I got lost. I rub my palm over my face, but my hands smell like stale glaze and cheap soap. It doesn't help. The crying gets louder, drifting from the parking lot shadows right up to the door. I don't even need to look. I know what I'll see. I check the donut rack behind me, fingers shaking as I grab the plainest glazed I can find. Not the chocolate, not the sprinkles. The rule's clear. Always plain. Never fancy. First week here, I tried powdered sugar because we were out of glazed. I learned fast that powdered sugar isn't plain enough. The bell above the door gives a slow, drawn-out squeal as it opens, even though I swear I didn't touch the lock. She pushes through, tiny sneakers squeaking on the tiles, hair matted to her forehead like she crawled through wet leaves. Her eyes are huge, too round, too shiny under the flickering light. Bruises bloom under the grime on her cheeks. She hugs the glass donut case with both arms like it's the only thing keeping her upright. Her sobs quiet just enough for her to say it. "Mommy?" In a voice so small and sticky, it makes my gut clench. I hold the donut out in both hands, arms stiff. I don't step closer. That's another thing the list doesn't say outright, but I figured it out the first time. Never get too close. She stares at me for a heartbeat that feels longer than the whole night shift. Then she steps forward, slow enough that her sneakers squeak with every shuffle. Her little fingers reach out, damp and gray around the nails, and for a split second I think she's going to grab my wrist instead. I flinch back just enough. She takes the donut, fingers brushing the edge of the wax paper. Her skin leaves a faint smudge where it touched. She holds the donut to her chest like a toy, backs away without blinking. The crying stops. She turns so sharp, I swear her neck shouldn't bend like that, then bolts through the door. The bell doesn't ring when it closes behind her. I I keep my eyes locked on the donut case because I know better than to look at the dark corner by the grease trap, where I hear the giggle. It's faint, echoing, like someone left a radio on in the next room. High-pitched. Too many voices layered on top of each other, giggling where no one should be. I swallow down the taste of metal in the back of my throat and tuck my shaking hands under my arms. The rule worked. The glazed was plain enough. She's gone. I look at the supply closet again, half expecting the door to swing wide like it wants to show me the rules in case I forgot. But it stays shut this time. I check the clock. Almost 1 now. The parking lot looks empty again under that one dying lamp that flickers like it's winking at me. One sobbing girl down. 5 to go. I rub my eyes and hope I've got enough warm tap water for the next one. The pregnant woman always comes thirsty. I'm still staring at the spot where the crying girl's footprints should be when I hear the next sign. The hinges on the front door wheeze like an old man clearing his throat. I don't even look up right away. I know who's pushing her way inside. She's always next. The air shifts when she enters. Heavy, damp, sour like milk that sat too long under bad lights. I lift my eyes just enough to catch the shape of her in the glass reflection. Her belly is the first thing through the door, round and straining the thin cotton of a flowered dress that clings to her skin in patches where the fabric looks soaked through. She shuffles toward the counter, shoes scraping loud against the tile. Except tonight, I notice she's wearing mismatched slippers instead. One pink, one a muddy brown. They leave a faint trail of dark smudges that spread like bruises on the floor. Her hair sticks to her cheeks in clumps, strands clinging to the corner of her mouth when she tries to speak. I can see the veins in her throat pulse when she swallows. For a second, I wonder if she's going to ask for something else, something I don't have a rule for. My hands twitch under the counter. Coffee? She croaks, voice bubbling like it's fighting through liquid. Her yellowed teeth show and her lips peel back. I nod once, careful not to meet her eyes too long. I don't reach for the carafe behind me. The rule is clear. No coffee. Never coffee. I spin the tap open instead, letting warm water run into a paper cup I usually save for the last stale brew when I can't keep my eyes open. I slide the cup toward her, the steam rising slow between us. She watches my hands, pupils flicking from the water to the big metal coffee urn that's still half full behind me. Her tongue moves along her cracked lips like she wants to argue, but she doesn't. They never argue for long. She lifts the cup with both hands, fingers swollen and purple at the knuckles. The first sip makes her jaw shudder. A line of drool slips down her chin, but she doesn't wipe it. I pretend not to see. The smell that hits me while she drinks is worse than the burnt coffee, thick, like blood left to sit on hot metal. I force myself to breathe through my mouth. I keep one hand on the counter, gripping the edge so hard my nails bend back. When she finishes, she sets the cup down so gentle it doesn't even rock. Her eyes dart to the door. She shuffles backward, dragging her slippers through the puddle she leaves behind. I catch a glimpse of dark streaks trailing down her bare calves, soaking into her socks. The bell above the door rattles once when she leaves, just a tiny squeak of metal, then silence. I stand there and stare at the puddle. Rust and spoiled milk. That's the only way I can describe it. It creeps toward the base of the counter, slow as syrup. I reach for the mop, but I stop myself. Not yet. I need gloves for this one. Last time I did it barehanded, I lost a whole layer of skin off my fingertips. I flick the closet door open, grab the cracked yellow gloves from the shelf, and pull them on until they stick to my wrists. I push the mop through the puddle, watching it foam at the edges like it's trying to fight back. When I squeeze it out in the bucket, the water inside sizzles, releasing that iron stink that crawls up my nose and sticks to my teeth. When the last streak is gone, I toss the gloves straight in the trash. Not worth saving. I wipe my hands on my apron and peek at the clock. Past 2. My back aches and the soles of my feet throb, but there's no sitting down yet. I hear the old hum from the lights, the soft buzz from the donut case's warmer, and just under that, something like laughter, distant and high. I know what comes next. The lights will flicker soon. The laughing twins always come when the circuits stutter. I lean on the counter, staring at the reflection of the empty parking lot. If I follow the next rule right, I'll see the sun again. It starts the same way every time. A flicker in the ceiling lights, a quick zap that makes the bulbs pop just enough to throw shadows against the donut racks. I don't even flinch anymore. I just stand there behind the counter, mop leaning against my leg, watching the door like it might breathe if I look away. The flickering stops and the hum dies down so low I can hear my own breath. Then the tapping starts. Light, quick, like tiny knuckles drumming a secret code on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Then pause. Tap, tap, tap again, perfectly in sync. I see them when the light flares back on, two shapes pressed nose to nose with the glass door. Identical sweatshirts pulled over skinny shoulders, hoods up even though it's warm inside and cold out there. Each sweatshirt has a cartoon mouth stitched across the front. Big, jagged teeth that don't look cute when the hoods slip back enough to show their real smiles underneath. The laughing twins. I hate unlocking the door for them. I hate the feel of the cold metal under my palm. Hate the soft hiss the latch makes when it gives way. But the rule is clear. Unlock the door when they tap, or they'll find another way in. I learned that the hard way my first month when I thought I could wait them out. Found claw marks on the back door that looked too deep for kids' fingernails. They step inside together, sneakers squeaking, voices already blending into one high giggle that makes the hair on my neck stand up. They stand shoulder to shoulder, so close their baggy sleeves brush each other every time they sway. Sprinkles? They chirp in unison, eyes darting past me to the racks behind the counter where I keep the leftover donuts nobody buys. I shake my head like I always do. No sprinkles tonight. I whisper it because saying it loud feels wrong. Their heads tilt at the same angle, same pout pulling at the corners of their mouths. One of them, maybe the older one, though I've never figured out which is which, points a finger at the glazed donuts with a smear of pink frosting someone from day shift must have left behind. I swallow hard and nudge the box aside with my elbow so it's out of sight. No sprinkles, I repeat. The younger one, or maybe not, snorts and flicks a crumb off the counter, then giggles into the other's ear like I just told them a dirty joke. They settle for a stale cruller instead. I slide it across the counter in a napkin, careful not to let their fingers touch mine. They each tear off a piece and lick the sugar off slow, giggling the whole time like they're tasting some inside joke I'll never get. When they're done, they don't say goodbye. They never do. They spin on their heels in perfect sync, giggling louder now as they skip back through the door. I keep propped half open until they're outside. I don't move until I hear the latch catch behind them. The lights flicker once more before humming steady again, like the building itself lets out a breath when they're gone. I wipe the counter with the edge of my sleeve, then glance at the back door. Same dented push bar, same rust around the hinges. But tonight, there's something new. Fresh scratches in the paint near the handle. Thin grooves running up the frame like someone dragged a broken comb along it over and over. I touch the marks with my fingertip and feel the faint sting of raw metal. I check the supply closet again, even though I don't need to. The paper with the rules is still there. 7 lines. 7 names. 2 left for the night shift. I press my forehead to the cold metal shelf for a second, breathing in the smell of cardboard and stale cleaning spray. My feet ache, my eyes burn. In the distance, I hear a hum, a tuneless melody carried on a breeze that shouldn't be coming through sealed doors. I know that sound. The singing old man is almost here. I push off the shelf, straighten my apron, and remind myself what comes next. If I follow the rules, I'll see the sun. By 3 in the morning, my head feels stuffed with cotton. Every sound comes through muffled. The low hum of the donut warmer, the drip from the coffee pot I keep forgetting to dump, the faint squeal of the supply closet hinge that swings open just enough to remind me it's there. But underneath it all, I hear him. The singing old man. It starts like a cough buried in a song. A thin, broken hum that scratches its way through the front door's seams. I keep my eyes on the register display, like the flickering green numbers might shield me. But the hum creeps in anyway, worming behind my ears until I feel it buzz at the base of my neck. I see his shape through the glass. Bent shoulders hunched forward, one leg dragging behind him like it doesn't belong. His coat flaps around his ankles, dusty and sagging like a second skin. He stands there for a second, face tilted just enough for the outside light to catch one milky eye, cloudy and dull, and the other sharp and black, locked right on me. I know better than to turn away. I made that mistake once, ducking into the back hallway when I heard him hum. He just waited. The song leaking through the air vent, circling the whole building until I came back out shaking and half crying. He doesn't leave until he's been served. He pushes the door open with his good shoulder, humming louder now, the sound bouncing off the tiles and the donut case glass. He drags his bad leg behind him, the toe of his shoe scraping in a slow, wet rhythm that somehow keeps time with his broken tune. He stops in front of the counter, close enough that I can smell him. Moldy fabric, cold earth, something sharp underneath like metal left out in the rain. He doesn't speak. He just hums. His lips twitch at the corners, stretched over dark gums where teeth used to be. I know what he wants. The rule says it plain. Give him a jelly donut. No substitutions. Easy enough. I reach for the pink box under the glass, stale sugar dust coating the edges where the day shift never wipes clean. My hands shake just a little when I slide the donut onto a napkin and push it across the counter. The humming stops for a second. The silence makes my ears ring. He lifts his good hand, fingers bent sideways like broken twigs, and scoops the donut up slow. His milky eye stays on me the whole time. He doesn't blink. He doesn't nod, he just smiles, gums black and wet where old teeth rot in half-buried roots. He turns without a sound except for the drag of that shoe across the dirty floor. When he hits the door, he hums again, a few notes, tuneless and cracked, like he's winding down an old record player. The door swings shut behind him with a soft click. The hum lingers in my head long after he's gone. The cold he drags in clings to my skin, seeps under my collar. I rub my hands together until they burn, but the chill stays lodged in my knuckles like frostbite. I mop the spot where his shoe left a faint wet smear, gray and thin, fading as soon as the mop drags over it. The smell of mold drifts up from the bucket when I squeeze the dirty water out. The clock says it's almost 4. My eyes sting when I blink. I want to sit down behind the counter, just for a minute, but I know better. The next one never knocks. She just appears. Feet bare, steps soft but leaving streaks behind that steam in the cold air. I check the front door latch twice, then 3 times. The singing old man is gone. His song still rattles in my head. I whisper the next rule under my breath, so quiet only the supply closet might hear me. If I do it right, I'll see the sun. By 4:30, the sky outside the front window goes from pitch black to a heavy dark blue that makes the neon sign look sick. That's when my chest gets tight the worst. That stretch of hour when the night's too tired to hold itself up, but the sun's not close enough to push it away. I lean against the counter with my hands braced flat on the sticky laminate. I can feel the faint vibration of the old freezer in the back. The soft click of the warmer switching off and on, the hum of the supply closet door shifting just enough to remind me it's listening. That's when I hear it. A soft, wet slap like someone dropped a sponge on tile over and over again. I don't even need to look. I know the sound too well. Bare feet, torn soles peeling up from sticky linoleum. The woman without shoes never knocks. She doesn't tap the glass or rattle the handle. She just slips inside when the latch forgets itself, door easing open under the weight of her steps. I smell her before I see her. Copper, and something sour that makes my mouth taste like old pennies. She drags herself through the doorway, hands pressed flat against the doorframe to keep her upright. Her hair sticks to her shoulders in clumps. Her dress is thin enough to show dark patches where it's soaked through at the hem. Each footstep leaves a wet print that steams when it hits the cold air, drifting from the vent above the door. The prints are red at first, bright enough to look fresh, too fresh. They darken to a deep brown the longer they sit on the floor, like the tiles drinking them in. She doesn't look at me. She never does. She just drags herself past the counter, eyes locked somewhere I can't see. Her breathing comes in short, sharp huffs like she's swallowing each gasp to keep it inside. I want to speak. I want to ask if she needs help, if I should call someone, if she remembers where she came from. But the rule says it clear. Stay behind the counter. Keep the mop dry. Wait. So I stand there with my fists clenched around the mop handle so tight my palms burn. I can feel the splintered wood digging into my skin, grounding me in place. She disappears into the bathroom. The door creaks once, then clicks shut behind her. I listen for the faucet, for the flush, for any sound that means she's still there. All I hear is the faint drip of the coffee pot behind me and my own breath echoing in my ears. A minute passes. 2. The door swings open again, so slow it doesn't even squeal. She drags herself back out, feet slapping fresh prints over the first ones. Her hands trail along the wall, smears of something dark left behind at thin lines that fade before I can see if they're really red or just shadows. She never meets my eyes. I think I'd scream if she did. She pulls the door open with fingers that leave streaks on the glass. The night air rushes in for a second, sharp enough to sting the raw spots on my knuckles. Then she's gone. I count to 50 in my head, the longest seconds of the whole shift. The prints on the floor stay bright for a moment longer, then curl at the edges like old blood under the sun. Only when they go black do I move. I drag the mop across the floor slow, pressing it down hard enough to feel the tile underneath. The prints smear but don't lift right away. It's like pushing paint into cracked concrete. Each swipe leaves my arms aching. When the last stain fades, I rinse the mop in the bucket. The water runs dark and thin, slipping down the drain like it never existed. I toss the bucket back in the supply closet without bothering to empty it. Outside, the sky's gone bruised purple. The neon sign flickers once, sputtering like it wants to die before the sun shows up. I check the clock. The last one's closed now. I can feel him waiting, forehead pressed to the glass, breath fogging the spot right where I left my handprint hours ago. The man in the overcoat. The final rule, the one that counts most. If I keep the door locked, I'll see the sun. By the time I push the mop back into the closet and slam the door shut on the old paper with its 7 rules curling at the edges, the sky outside has turned that pale, ugly gray that means the sun's coming whether I'm ready or not. I tell myself I'm ready. I lie. The man in the overcoat always comes last. He doesn't knock. He doesn't walk in like the others. He waits. That's the trap. I stand behind the counter with my hands braced flat, nails tapping the sticky laminate. My eyes sting from the hum of the neon sign outside, still buzzing like an angry bee stuck behind the glass. I don't look directly at him yet, but I know he's there. I feel him in the air, colder than the singing old man, heavier than the pregnant woman's sour breath, worse than the silent businessman's gasoline stink. I shift my eyes just enough to catch the corner of the window. He's pressed up close tonight. Forehead bent so hard against the glass, I can see hairline fractures webbing out from where his skin touches it. His breath leaves a wide circle of fog that makes it look like the window's alive, pulsing under him. He lifts his hand, a glove so black it eats the light, and taps. Once, twice, 3 times. The sound isn't loud, but it shakes something behind my ribs. Each tap hits like a bone rattle. I swallow, throat raw from hours of stale coffee and the taste of copper that never really leaves. The rule says it plain. Do not open the door. Do not speak. Do not move closer. If I stand still, if I pretend not to see him, if I hold my breath long enough, maybe he'll drift back into the dark like he always does. My knees lock when he tilts his head. The brim of the overcoat splits just enough for me to see what waits underneath. Teeth where no teeth should be. A grin too wide for a face that's hidden in folds of dark fabric. The grin twitches when the glass bows inward. A crack spiders out from under his forehead, and I swear I see his gums pressed flat against the inside of his cheek. I want to run. I want to pull the door open just to end the waiting. I think about Tom, my manager, who stepped outside one night when the tapping wouldn't stop. They found his car still idling by the curb the next morning. Driver's door open, keys in the ignition, coffee cup on the roof half full of rainwater. They didn't find Tom. I feel my hand drift toward the latch. My fingers brush cold metal. The man in the overcoat stops tapping. He leans closer, like he can smell my fear right through the glass. I swear I hear him breathing, wet, rattling, hungry. I whisper the rule under my breath, the last line of that yellow paper burned into the back of my skull. Do not open the door. My voice cracks halfway through. I bite my tongue to keep it steady. Outside, the dark starts to thin behind him, a thin line of pale light slicing through the trees that choke the parking lot. The sun's late, but it's coming. I see it catch the edge of the overcoat, turning the black fabric to a dull, shifting gray. The man in the overcoat tilts his head again. The grin splits wider, showing raw gums and rows of teeth that look too flat and too many. Then he drifts backward. Not walking, not stepping, just pulling away like the dark itself is tugging him home. The window's left with a fresh crack, a spider web that won't get fixed because nobody from corporate ever comes out here anymore. I press my forehead to the glass once he's gone, just to feel how cold it still is. I clock out with hands that won't stop shaking. I scrub the counter twice, even though it's pointless. I wipe down the donut rack that's already half empty and flick off the warmer. I lock the front door, twisting the deadbolt so hard the latch scrapes the metal frame. Outside, the sunrise leaks through the trees like a promise I don't trust anymore. I see the overcoat man's grin in every side mirror on my car, in the glint of the rear window when I pull out of the lot. I check the back seat 3 times before I drive. They're all patient, the ones that come inside and the one who waits outside. They'll be there tomorrow, same as tonight, same as every night after. 7 rules for 7 customers. If I follow them right, I see the sun. If I don't, well, I know what happens. I take one last look at the empty store through my cracked rear view. I swear I see him there, pressed up against the window again. But maybe that's just the reflection. I turn the radio up to drown out the hum that's already crawling back under my skin. I tell myself I'll sleep when I get home. I tell myself I'll be back tomorrow. For now,